Hello everyone. So today I'm going to cover entry processor by extending the abstract entry processor class. In the last video I had explained and implemented a simple program to show how we can implement entry processor interface and create our own entry processor, and then we can pass whatever operation we want that entry processor to perform. So today I'll show you an example of how we can use an abstract entry processor class, and then we can create our entry processor. Now the major advantage of using abstract entry processor is that, if you remember in the last example when I had implemented that entry processor interface, in that case I had to overwrite three methods. The first one was process method, the second one was get entry processor method, and the third one was get backup. The third one was process backup method, and also I had to implement two interfaces as well. If you do not remember the last example, you can go through the last video and you will get to understand what I'm talking about right now. So when you implement entry processor interface, in that case we will have to override three methods, but in case of abstract entry processor, we just have to override one method, and that is process method. And the whatever logic we put inside the process method, the same logic gets applied implicitly to the backup entries as well. So that is the advantage of using abstract entry processor. Also, if you do not want to apply any logic to your backup entries, in that case you can just, while creating the constructor of your entry processor, you can just pass false to your parent class, and in that case uh, your entry processor logic would not get applied on your backup entries. So let me just write a program in that, and then it will be more clear. So let's start. First of all, I'll create a class. Now I'll extend abstract entry processor class. I'll have to pass the type. Let's say it's a string and integer. Okay, so see, as you can see that we just have to override one method, that is process, and whatever logic we put inside this process method would implicitly get applied to our backup entries, map backup entries, or whichever data you are applying this entry processor to. Basically we apply the entry processor to maps. So now I'll just put my logic. My logic would be simple in this example. I'll just get the value and I'll increment it. Okay, so this is my logic. I'm just, whatever record is there, this is the whatever value is presented in this entry object, I'll just get that value and I'll just increment that value to 10 and I'll set it back. And also I'm not returning any value. So that's why I'm returning null. So that's all, and that's it. Now let me just create my main class. Here I'll just create Hazelcast instance. Create a map. And now I will just put some objects in the map, put some entries in the map. Let's say it's 30. And it's 40. Now what I'll do, I'll just call entry processor on all my map entries. So and now since the entry processor will update the value, I'll just print uh, the values of my map. This is simple. I don't think there is anything to explain in all this. This is simple iterating a map. The main concept was in using the AbstractEntryProcessor class, and the advantage of what is the advantage of using AbstractEntryProcessor class. Okay, let's run the program. And also I'll show you my hazelcast.xml file. Okay, so this is our map configuration, and here you can see that right now the backup count configuration is 2 and async backup is 1. So whatever map we'll be creating and all the entries that we will be putting in the map would have 2 backup entries and 1 async backup entries. So whatever operation this entry processor will do on the main record, the same updation would also be done on the uh, on the backup and async backup as well. One more thing, if you are creating an abstract, okay, let me just first run this program and show you a simple example, then I'll move on to some of the other things. See, the value of test1 has been incremented by 10 and the value of test2 has also been incremented by 10. So this is how we use AbstractEntryProcessor in our program. We can use and update the map entries. Now few things to understand. This is our entry processor, right? And see, the code is very simple. If you have to make some updation on your map entries, in that case it's better to extend this abstract entry processor class instead of that entry processor interface, because if you extend this class you just have to override one method, that is process method, and whatever logic you apply to this process method, the same logic would also get applied to your backup entries. You don't have to explicitly write the logic, right? So that is the advantage. Now there would be some cases if where you just want to apply the logic, entry processor logic, to your original copy itself. You don't want your backup copies, you don't want that logic to be applied to your backup copies. So in that case, for doing that, there is one way. For doing that, you just create a constructor of your entry processor class, and you just pass false in super. So now if you don't want to apply your logic to your backup entries, in that case you just create your public constructor, no argument constructor, and you just pass false to super method. Now what this will do, this will call what this statement will do, this will call the parent class constructor of this of our entry processor. So our parent class is abstract entry processor. So this statement would call the constructor of abstract entry processor, and it would pass false. So now when you see the logic inside this abstract entry processor class, okay, just a second. Yeah, so this is the method, this is the constructor. Whenever we are calling the super method and passing false, so this method would be called, and apply on backup parameter would get a value of false. And if this is false, this if condition, if block would not get executed, and entry backup processor instance would be null. If apply on backup is true, in that case this entry backup processor would get a backup entry backup processor implementation object, and then that backup processing would also get applied. So this is the logic. Now when we do not write this constructor, this is simple Java, right? When we do not write your no argument constructor, and whenever you are creating your object of your entry processor, so whenever this new space class name, so this is actually calling the no argument constructor. And also you might be aware that whenever there is no constructor in Java, so Java automatically adds this no argument constructor to each and every class while creating the object. A default no argument constructor would be added. So this statement would call your entry processor, and this will pass true, right? So if you do not want, you just have to call super and you have to pass false. So this is how we implement abstract entry processor, and that is the main advantage of it. Now if you do not write this, okay, just a second, if you do not create this no argument constructor, and if you do not pass false explicitly, so what will happen? Let's just go to the code again. So in that case, this constructor would be called no argument constructor of abstract entry processor, and see here you can see that again a constructor with argument true would be called. So basically this constructor would be called and a true value would be passed, and finally entry backup processor instance would also get created, and backup entries would the logic would also get applied to backup entries. That is why we have to pass false. I hope you're clear with the concept. So this is all about abstract entry processor. There are two other types of entry processor which are basically used to optimize the performance of entry processor. That is offloadable entry processor and read-only entry processor. I'll be covering those two in my next video. So for today, I think this was the topic that I had to explain. I hope it's clear to you all. If you have any doubt, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any suggestion about the videos, about its content, or anything like that, you just let me know. I'll try to improve the videos and uh, try to add the content, or I can even change the method if you want, if you do not like something. Whatever it is, just let me know and I'll do accordingly. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.